So when I was a young poet, to go back to that one I was talking about yesterday, I was a young poet, and I'd had a book published, and it was a book of lyrical poems, and it was called Iron Wind, and I wasn't really satisfied with writing lyrical poetry because I wasn't very good at it. And there were a lot of other people who were much, much better. So I was looking for other ways to kind of make poems, and one of the people I looked to was a legendary experimental poet in New York City, John Giorno. John's with us this morning. And John had this project called Dial a Poem, which was, a project known to all of us around the country because you could call on the phone and hear an amazing poem. And it wasn't just your standard sort of, Robert Lowell confessional poetry. It was very different. So it was a real role model for breaking open performance poetry in this country. If you think about poetry slams, in part, John Giorno is responsible for that. John was born and still resides in New York City. And if you listen to Ugo's recitation yesterday at the end of the day, Ugo may say, well, that's just a description of physically of what you see when you go in the gallery, but it is also highly structured performance. And in part, he owes that, I think, to his partnership with John, because he's learned great things from the poet John Giorno. John was a key figure in Andy Warhol's factory, and in fact, if you've ever seen the 1963 film Sleep that Warhol made, that's John sleeping. He has worked with, influenced, and been friends with an amazing array of some of the most significant artists and writers of the 20th century. Allen Ginsberg, Robert Rauschenberg, Jasper Johns, William Burroughs, John Ashbery, Ted Berrigan, Patti Smith, Laurie Anderson, Philip Glass. The list is very long. John's going to give us a couple of poems this morning. I give you the legendary John Giorno.
Thank you. I'm going to begin with a poem that's called Everyone Gets Lighter. Life is lots of presents, and every single day you get a big bunch of gifts under a sparkling pine tree hung with countless balls of colored lights, piles of presents wrapped in fancy paper. The red one with the green ribbon, and the green one with the red ribbon, and the blue one with silver, and the white one with gold. It's not what happens, it's how you handle it. You are in a water bubble human body on a private jet in seemingly a God world, a glass of champagne, a certain luminosity and clarity, skin of air, a flat sea of white clouds below, a vast dome of blue sky above, and your mind is an iron nail in between. It's not what happens, it's how you handle it. Dead cat bounce, catch a falling knife. After endless shadow boxing in your sleep, fighting in your dreams and knocking yourself out, you realize everything is empty and appears as miraculous display. All are in nature the play of emptiness and clarity. Everyone gets lighter, everyone gets lighter, everyone gets lighter. Everyone is light. Thank you. I'm gonna do one more poem, and it's called There Was a Bad Tree. There was a bad tree that everyone hated. The leaves gave off a foul smell, and the flowers had a bitter stink. When you got too close, you vomited. The fruit was poison. One bite and you were dead. Everyone really disliked it. The bad tree stunk. They talked endlessly about it and decided to cut it down. Get rid of it. They chopped with axes and barely made a dent. Wearing breathing masks, they whacked at it and nibbled and chipped. Oily powder from the shiny, dark green leaves got on their skin, blistered, and was really itchy, and they scratched bloody red. They put on protective gear with oxygen and went at it with electric buzzsaws and heavy equipment. Working 24-hour shifts, finally they cut it down. Everyone was very happy and celebrated the great victory, a noble deed well done, and they went to bed exhausted. The next morning, the bad tree had grown back, bigger, stronger, bigger, and more beautiful. It was very discouraging. They talked a lot about it and cut it down again and poured gasoline on the roots and burned all the leaves and branches in a big fire. After the smoldering embers got cold, the tree grew back, bigger, more bad, and really gorgeous. Other people had been watching from their houses, waiting their turn. They thought themselves smarter, with higher intellectual capabilities. They knew how to get rid of the tree. It was a growing plant, a wood tree that grew in the ground. They incinerated it, burned the roots with chemicals, vaporizing acids, and robotic lasers, detonated it on the ground, bombed from the air, hit with smart missiles. They made a firestorm and covered the ground with concrete and steel. The tree grew back, more fresh, more elegant, even gracious, and really ugly. The wood was harder, thick, hot muscle, and the leaves full and lush, moved like underwater plants luxuriously in the breeze. It was very depressing, very discouraging, a catastrophe. They had made for themselves a hell world. They talked incessantly about it and came to a big decision. The mayor resigned in disgrace, and those who had worked so hard left humiliated, departed, moved to the other side of town. Then, out of the blue, appeared these beautiful people. They were simple and humble and a little like peacocks and seemingly well-intentioned with a great sense of humor. Radiantly relaxed, oozing loving kindness and compassion, they walked right up and started eating the leaves. They ate the leaves and enjoyed them, became happy and laughed and chomped on more leaves. You could tell they really liked the taste. They pressed their cheeks to the flowers, black velvet coated with transmission oil. They licked the sweet juices that seeped from the petals. The pollen was coal dust and petroleum gas. Burying their noses, they sucked in deep breaths, eating the smell. Great bliss. They discovered the fruit hidden beneath the leaves. Overripe mangoes with sticky eggplant skin hung like testicles. And inside the fruit was rotting meat like liver. The special people got their faces into the stinking slime and really got into it, inhaling with their lips and teeth and tongues. They licked and drank the thick red juice. The seeds, like cabochon rubies, seemed particularly potent and were chewed with great delight. The fruit contained the 5 wisdoms. The beautiful men and women became luminous. Their skin was golden, and their bodies, almost transparent, were clothed in shimmering rainbow lights. They became sleepy, yawned, and curled up under the tree and took a nap. While they slept, music filled the air. lounging against the gnarled tree trunk and protruding roots, their huge bodies, colored red, yellow, blue, green, white, rested in great equanimity and radiated huge compassion. Inside the tree was the secret home of many demigods, hungry ghosts, and earth spirits who were very pleased with all the positive attention being paid them after years of abuse, mutilation, and destruction. At the root endings, there were jewels, diamonds and emeralds and rubies, which were stars in the sky of the world below. The beautiful men and women woke up and nibbled on the leaves again. They ate the leaves like deer, pausing between bites, looking up at the vast, empty sky. The leaves and fruit increased their clarity and bliss and introduced the nature of primordially pure wisdom mind.
Now, is that a benediction? What's nature? What's beautiful? What's ugly? Who are we? How do we relate to nature? John, thank you. That's amazing.